Hi, boys and girls. This is Grandma Sheila, and I have a story for you today. It's called Gaston Listened and Obeyed. Well, Gaston was about 10 years old when this story happened. He lived in Quebec in Canada, and he was a French Canadian little boy. Well, in his house was something that was very special to him. Hanging on the wall was a big picture of a guardian angel standing looking down at a sleeping baby. He loved that picture. He never doubted that he had a guardian angel. That's what the Bible says, you know. Each of us have an angel that watches over us, a special angel that's all our own. God is so good to send someone to watch over us. Well, he loved that picture of the guardian angel and the baby, and he felt comfortable that God was sent his angel to be with him. Then something happened. It was a blustery winter morning when this story started to happen. But we're getting ahead of ourselves. About 2 weeks before this, it had been Christmas in Gaston's home. And like all of you, he was really excited for his Christmas presents. And when he had opened them, one of his gifts was a bright red shovel, the kind that you use to shovel snow. He was so excited. He wanted to go out and shovel snow right away, but there wasn't any snow to shovel. So Mom and Dad said, "You kids leave your shovels underneath the Christmas tree, and when it starts to snow, we will let you go out and shovel the snow." Well, every morning, some mornings before it was even fully light, Gaston would get up from his bed and he would run as hard as he could go over to the window. He'd pull back the curtain and he would look. Is it snowing yet? Is it snowing yet? But every day there was no snow. Well, he didn't forget about wanting the snow. For the next 10 days, every morning he got up early to look outside to see if there was snow out there for him to shovel. Every day there was none. It was just brown and cold outside. He thought, will it ever snow? Well, one morning, all his eagerness was rewarded when he jumped out of bed and threw back his covers. He ran over and he pulled open that curtain, and wonder of wonders, there was snow falling ever so softly, and it must have fallen all night long because there was a big amount of snow. And he thought, snow, snow. Well, he didn't say it because he wasn't sure if other people were awake in his house or not. But he had his pajamas on, so he rushed to the entryway to get his snow boots. And he sat down right there on the floor and he started pulling them on. But his mother saw him and she said, "Gaston, you have to come eat your breakfast." and you have to get dressed in warm clothes before you go out in that snow. I know you're excited, but if you eat first and dress warm, you'll feel much better." Well, Mother watched him. They had their breakfast prayer, and she had never seen a little boy eat so fast. Then he looked at his mother and he said, "I'm done." She just smiled. "Now go get dressed." So he ran to his room. So much to do before he could go out and play in the snow. Well, he got on his warm clothes. He went and got his coat and his scarf, and he pulled down his hat over his head. And he ran back in the living room and pulled that red shovel out from underneath the Christmas tree. And he headed outside. His brothers and sisters must not have been awake yet, but out he went. And when he got outside, he saw something really exciting. Now remember, he was 10, and he saw at the end of their driveway, there was a huge mountain of snow where the plow had come through on their street, and the snow had gone both ways, making big, high mountains on each side of the street. Well, Gaston, he looked at that snow, and he poked at it. It was kind of soft, and he thought, "Great, I know what, I'll make a snow cave in that big mountain of snow at the end of the driveway." Think about it, boys and girls. Was that a safe place to make a snow cave? And should you make a snow cave to get in soft, fluffy snow? I don't think so. But he didn't think about any of those things. So he got in front of that big, huge mountain of snow, and he started throwing out shovelful after shovelful of snow out into their driveway. Well, it took him a long time. Matter of fact, a very long time. But finally, he had dug out an opening in the snow big enough that he could stand up in. And it was long enough inside that he could sit down or lay down in it. He thought, "This is absolutely great, my very own snow cave." Well, then Gaston realized something else. He was very tired. He had been up really early. It had been a long time since breakfast, and he was really tired. And inside of a snow cave, it's very quiet. I don't know if you've even noticed when it just snows, that outside where you generally hear all kinds of traffic and maybe people and things going up and down the street, once it snowed, it's all almost silent. Well, inside of his snow cave, it was really silent. And Gaston thought, "I'm so tired. Maybe I should just rest for a little while." So he crawled into the back of his snow cave. He lay down and he looked up at the ceiling at all that snow, and he thought, "This is great." But then before he even knew it, he had curled up and he went sound asleep. And what happens when you go to sleep sometimes? He started having dreams. Well, it was during one of those dreams that suddenly Gaston heard a voice. And the voice said, "Gaston, get up, get out." And his eyes kind of blinked open a little bit, and he looked around and he said, "Oh, I'm still in the snow cave." And he didn't listen to that voice. He was so tired and so sleepy that he just lay back down and went sound asleep again. Well, Gaston didn't know how many minutes it was till that voice came again, much more urgently than the first time, and it said, "Gaston, wake up, get out, now, now." And Gaston, he shook his head and he looked around. He didn't see anybody, but he jumped up and he ran out of that archway he had made that went into his snow cave, and he was standing in the driveway when just a little ways down the road, just a small ways from their driveway, there came a huge tractor, probably owned by the city or the county, and behind it was following a huge dump truck. And that big tractor had an ice grinder on the front of it, and it was going down the side of the street and grinding up all those mountains of snow all the way along, so there was no snow in the entries of the driveways anymore. Gaston looked, and he could hear those blades going around, grinding up the ice. It was a very powerful machine. And then he realized something very awful. If he hadn't listened to that voice, if he hadn't obeyed that voice, he knew that nobody knew where he was. His parents didn't know that he was out at the end of the driveway making an ice cave. None of the neighbors knew. That man in that big tractor with that ice grinder didn't know that there was a little boy inside of a snow cave in the side of that huge mountain of snow and ice. He closed his eyes, and then he knew who had talked to him. It had to have been my angel, my guardian angel. Well, his parents had read to him from the Bible about every single boy and girl, and every single parent when they grew up had a guardian angel to protect and watch out for them and to warn them of trouble. After that big tractor with a grinder on it had gone through, all the snow and ice pieces had gone up a tube in the back, and had flown into that big dump truck, and the tractor and the dump truck had rattled down on the road. They didn't have any idea that there had been a little boy there that could have died that day had he not listened to his guardian angel. Boys and girls, God gave you a very special gift when He gave you a guardian angel to watch over you. Listen to those little impulses in your head that tells you what to do or not to do. And listen, because sometimes the angels will actually tell you what to do to keep you safe. I hope you have a really good week, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.